Tommy Robinson is living off cans of tuna in HMP Woodhill. We've got all the details of him in solitary confinement on this channel. Hello everyone, this is Andre Walker. Thanks so much for watching this video. Please do subscribe to this channel and hit the bell notification icon. It's the best way to absolutely guarantee you get all my videos as soon as they are released. Well, let's take a step back. Tommy Robinson is a Category D prisoner, which means he's a civil prisoner. He is not somebody who is a criminal in the conventional sense. Now, I'm not going to go through all of that, but the issue is effectively contempt of court. Contempt of court is kind of not a crime. It's a civil offence that you can go to prison for. So anyway, he is not a proper A, B or C criminal prisoner like normal people. And so most prisoners in his position would be out permanently. They would be able to leave the prisons during the day. Many of them just do their punishment at home. There's all sorts of different things. Very few of them are ever put into Belmarsh. In fact, I don't think there's ever been any. And in fact, now Tommy Robinson is in Woodhill, which is a Category B prison. Remember, in Belmarsh, they said you could either go onto the paedophile block or he could go into general population with the Islamists, neither of which were appropriate. Now, on this channel, I called for him to be put into solitary confinement, and in fair, that has happened. He's seen the prison psychiatrist, according to Ezra Levant from Rebel News, and by the way, I'll put a link into the description of his story, but he's seen the prison psychiatrist to ask what the long-term damage will be of him doing 9 months in solitary confinement, because as you know, it's normally a punishment, it's almost always a punishment for people who've caused violence in prison. To do it for 9 months, the prison psychiatrist has said, will be extremely damaging to his mental health. At the moment, he's being kept in solitary confinement for 23.5 hours a day, the other half hour being when he is allowed to go in the shower. And when he showers, the door is locked behind him. And as Ezra Levant said, that's a slightly odd detail as to why you would lock him in the shower. It's not, by the way, for his own protection. There's no issue of dropping the soap. In fact, believe it or not, the segregation unit that he's on has 15 or 16 cells, all of which were cleared out in advance of his arrival. So unbelievably, he's in solitary confinement in what is now a solitary block, which really brings us on to the next problem, which is that he's only able to exercise twice a week, whereas normal prisoners are allowed to exercise 4 times a week. And as Tommy apparently pointed out, one of the things that makes this particularly bad or particularly bizarre is that because the entire wing is closed, or the solitary confinement section is closed, he might as well just have the equipment brought there, which no doubt I'm sure his donors would pay for, or the prison could spare the odd piece of equipment. But remember, what we're talking about is something that's extremely psychologically taxing. I think we all saw the film The Shawshank Redemption, where Andy Dufresne gets 2 months in solitary confinement, and that is something that was considered to be a phenomenal damage to his mental health. To do it for 9 months is extremely shocking. But of course, there is a library that he's inherited. Unbelievably, it is an Islamic library full of books about converting to Islam. Probably not a surprise in a British prison, but there you have it. I just want to say to you that we have a number of problems in our prisons, don't we? And one of them, the point that I made earlier, was that Tommy Robinson, when he was last in Woodhill, was badly beaten up. When he was in Belmarsh, he was in solitary confinement. And also, my understanding is from the story from the book Enemy of the State, a lot of the food that was brought to him, the Islamists would tend to say, "There you go, Tommy, there's your special meal." And when he came out last time, he had lost an enormous amount of weight. Well, you're not going to believe what the British legal and justice and prison service have done for him. They're allowing him to spend up to £60 a month on food that he wants to buy for himself. Now, I turned around at a video and said we should have food specially sent in to him. I think some cold meat and some cold veg or salad or whatever from Asda would be entirely appropriate. People kept saying in the description, by the way, you can't bring your own food into prison. Yes, that is the very point I'm making, that there needs to be alternative arrangements. However, there are prison shops, almost like a tuck shop, and of course what he can do is he can buy canned tuna and just eat that. I must admit, he says to Ezra Levant that is fine and it's appropriate for him and that's all the food that he needs. I have to say to you, I'm not sure I completely agree with that. The idea that somebody like him, a young man, still comparatively young, he's only in his early 40s, the fact that he was supposed to live off just tuna, God knows whether he's eating the actual prison food. Maybe better arrangements have been made, but to individually deliver his food to him and not see it served in front of him would cause a significant security risk to him, and something that I think quite rightly he wouldn't want to engage in. But let's just remind ourselves of the fundamental point here, that category D point. He gets £60 a month and that's a concession. He's got the tuna that he wants and that's a concession. No doubt they'll sort out the exercise. No doubt locking him in a segregation unit within a segregation unit is something that will ensure his security. But this man should not be in prison. There are paedophiles and murderers who've been let out of prison. He is somebody who's acted in contempt of court, an offence that he admits to. But let's remind ourselves about this, because it is important. I've said it in videos before, but just to remind you, the reason why he was contemptuous of the court was because the video that he made making allegations against a refugee was proved to be accurate, but when that person sued him, he was unable to prove it in court. And that is to say that if I make an allegation against you of libel or slander, depending on whether it's written or whatever, or defamation, if I cannot prove in court that what I'm saying is true, then you can sue me. And the problem comes when you do what happened in this case, which was pay compensation to the victims and then get a non-disclosure agreement from them. Now, some people might say, yes, you can haul them into court anyway and subpoena them, but come on, who's going to drag into court a hostile defence witness? That is to say, somebody who's a defence witness for you, but is extremely hostile to you. And so his contempt of court was to tell the truth about a case which had remained unproven. Shouldn't have done it, but it's not relevant. Also, in terms of the allegation of terrorism, what a load of old bunkum. So there you have it. Those are the details. Once again, Ezra Levant's report from the Rebel News is below. And so I do want you to check that out, simply because I've got a lot of the details from him. He was only able to meet him in a 30-foot by 15-foot cell where the tables and chairs were bolted to the floor. Not sure what you're going to do with them, but anyway, and he had 2 guards present at all times. I think the problem here really comes with the fact that he is in prison at all. What is the point, British taxpayer, of paying for the enormous cost of this? What is the cost of having 15 cells for one guy? What is the cost of having a separate wing or a separate section of a wing reserved for one person? What is the cost of the separate meals? What is the cost of all this? It is a waste of money. And also, I have to say, somebody should buy him some cans of smoked salmon. At least give him some variety of canned fish. But we will wait to see what physical condition he is in this time when he gets out of prison. And I'm very worried about it. Until next time, goodbye.